Welcome to the Altruistic Libertarian, advocate for a genuinely free society. I'm Anthony Wheeler, and today we continue our presentation of the Traffic Panacea Proposal. We begin today by reviewing the next generation transport system infrastructure requirements. Number 1, interoperability with all certified Nuggets operators. It's likely that only one form of propulsion and one form of track or tube will make interoperability possible. To that end, during the appropriate phase of the program, operators and program staff will work together to decide on an optimal system. The same process will be necessary for the Rickshaw interface and operating system. Number 2, NovaRail's slicks will be electric powered, or any environmentally sound power source. 3, required standard cruising speeds of at least 100 miles per hour. No maximum speeds outside of technical constraints. Number 4, all Nuggets operators will accommodate a standard rickshaw. Number 5, all Nuggets operators will minimize inertia caused impact on rickshaw passengers, ensuring that the ride is as smooth as possible. Bank corners for high-speed turns, for instance, tilting the slick when accelerating or decelerating perhaps. While passengers will be seated and strapped into place like in today's automobiles, without mitigation at the speeds considered, major discomfort and potential injuries might result. Optional. NovaRails will provide an umbilical to recharge rickshaw batteries while en route, at an appropriate monetary charge, of course. Optional, likely. All NovaRails will be primarily aerial, with the possible exception of on and off boarding. Subterranean operations would be completely unrealistic unless somebody invents an uber cheap way to dig tunnels across the continent. Alternatively, a ground solution would compete with a legacy system for limited space and face severe constraints in terms of speed and safety, constraints that won't exist for an aerial solution. Nuggets operator selection criteria: safety, cost, network control system, effectiveness of rickshaw slick interface, performance, that is maximum cruising speeds, efficient on-off boarding, minimal delays, billing charging systems, power source, the cleaner the better. Rickshaw requirements. Number 1, electric powered, unless a cleaner, more effective power source can be developed. 2, top ground speed of maybe 20 or 30 miles an hour. While limiting the speed of the rickshaws may delay full adoption, doing so supports a major goal of the program: safety. It also allows for the production of far lighter vehicles, increasing the viability of NovaRails. 3, specific size range. So there'll be limits on length, width, height, weight, and wind resistance. These standard dimensions will be critical to support NovaRails, particularly the weight and wind drag coefficients. 4, be able to seat 1 to 5 adults with some cargo capacity, a medium-sized trunk for instance. 5, standard connection system to slicks. 6, designed to operate at maximum sustained speeds of, 300 miles per hour plus while riding NovaRails. 7, designed to sustain bird strikes, and then we'll have to determine the size of the bird and the rate of speed for those requirements. 8, while off NovaRails, designed to be driven short or longer distances automatically, controlled by Nuggets operators when on and off boarding. Possible consideration: given the projected speeds of the rickshaw while riding NovaRails, perhaps some form of lift would enhance performance. The rickshaw can be shaped like a wing, providing some lift, with possible additions of air effects as opposed to auto racing's ground effects. The lifting would tend to lighten the load on NovaRails and perhaps improve operating efficiencies. Rickshaw selection criteria: meeting all Nugget standards and protocols, safety, performance, on and off NovaRails, cost, weight, network capabilities. Benefits, impact. There are many projected benefits with the next generation transportation system. In addition to providing stress-free, rapid, convenient, and cost-effective travel, the major benefits that can be reasonably calculated are detailed below. The specific topics include basis for projections, prospects for the future, infrastructure, traffic fatalities, traffic injuries, the economic cost of death, injury, and destruction, the annual cost to own and operate a private vehicle, carbon emissions, innovation/performance. Basis for projections. For the following projections, we use a historical example of cell phones. This serves as a reasonable example due to the similarity between cell phones and the next generation transportation system. They both share the following characteristics: new technology in an old industry, new protocols and standards to be developed, benefit from less government regulation/ownership for telecoms divestiture in 1984, the Telecom Act of 1996, establishment and expansion of new infrastructure in telecommunications, cell towers, fiber, data networks. New technology can utilize legacy systems until new infrastructure is fully deployed. As can be seen in the chart, it took 25 years for cell phones to be fully adopted. After the first viable cell phone was offered to the public, it took about 12 years before the market started to take off. During that time, networks were expanded, prices dropped, technology was improved, and performance enhanced. Like any network, the larger the network, the more valuable to the individual user, and the more attractive to the entire market. In this model, the 50% benchmark wasn't reached until year 18 or so. At that point, the acceptance rate was fairly steep, resulting in 99% penetration after 25 years. Prospects for the future. Current course and speed, there is no reason to believe that traffic fatalities will be reduced significantly below what we experience today. The following excerpts highlight the current thinking about the future of transportation in America. There are ideas, hopes, and alarms, but no plan of action. Quote, "In 30 years, the transportation system in the United States will be a fossil, a relic of the 20th century that utterly fails Americans in 2045. That's the dire scenario U.S. Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox predicted February 2nd while in Mountain View, California at the Google campus. Fox, along with Google Executives Chairman Eric Schmidt, unveiled Beyond Traffic, the U.S. Department of Transportation's new framework for building an intelligent transportation network and avoiding the transit nightmare the agency envisions if the current system is not modernized. Far too long, our national dialogue about transportation has been focused on recreating the past. Instead, we need to focus on the trends that are shaping the future, said Secretary Fox. In Washington, in state capitals, and in city halls, it is time to sound the alarm bell. The future is calling. Beyond Traffic gives us a view into 2045 and the basis to plan for it. According to Beyond Traffic, leveraging technology and innovation in areas like autonomous cars, vehicle infrastructure and communication, big data and data analysis will be essential for the nation's transportation system as the U.S. population swells by 70 million more people over the next 3 decades. It is important to note that Beyond Traffic is not an action plan and is not intended to be, Fox wrote in the simultaneously released 360-page paper Beyond Traffic 2045 Trends and Choices. It is a survey of where we are and where current trends may take us if left unaddressed. The federal government alone cannot achieve resolution of all the issues and concerns the future will bring. Much decision-making belongs to other stakeholders, including state and local governments and the private sector. We hope it prompts a long overdue national conversation." Unquote. Based on this recent assessment of the federal government, the fundamental nature of the current transportation system is unlikely to change. The next generation transportation system can change that and provide the viable future for the transportation system that currently does not exist. Even if Nuggets removes only half the passenger traffic from the legacy transportation system, the benefits will remain considerable. Aging infrastructure. The nation is currently faced with the daunting task of maintaining the current transportation infrastructure and funding the necessary expansion to accommodate future demand. I reviewed the details of the article titled U.S. Needs $926 billion Infrastructure Investment back in episode 17. Deploying nuggets would eventually make further major investments in the legacy transportation system unnecessary. As passenger traffic is removed from the legacy system, less demand is experienced on the legacy network, alleviating much of the crisis. In addition, as new tolls are applied with the emerging nuggets, funding for maintaining the legacy system will become increasingly routine. Specific and near-term investments in the legacy transportation system will remain necessary, but will become increasingly less urgent as nuggets expands. Within the time frame of this proposal, approximately 30 years, the legacy transportation system should become economically and politically stable. Well, that concludes our show for today. In the next episode, we will continue reviewing the benefits and impacts of the Traffic Panacea Proposal. Until then, peace.